Hello, my name is Dr. Jessica Barron. You can call me Jessica. I am the Technology ACE faculty here at Penn Highlands. And this is going to be a recording that you can use to see what you missed at the meeting and anything that we talked about and things that you need to know specifically for the classes that you're teaching. Now, if you're not teaching CIT 100, the specific assessments will be sent to you if they haven't already, and the faculty member will meet with you and you'll be able to know exactly what you're supposed to be doing for that. But this is specifically for CIT 100. We will talk about other technology things that are all interrelated. Specifically, we're going to go over the syllabus. We're going to go over what is to be expected for the assessments, and then we're going to have different research development in the field, questions and discussion, and then we're going to complete our evaluations, which they will do, but you out in computer land, you won't have to do that. So, at any rate, let's go ahead and get started. I have the agenda up here, and the main thing that we want to talk about is because of accreditation, we want to be able to have our disciplines to be, teaching the same things across the board. Much like our standards, we have those, but you have a lot of flexibility in how you're going to teach the class. So if you have different techniques, or if you have specific things for your schools that you have to teach, like Google or Chromebooks or iPads or anything else that you want to integrate into your classes, that is perfectly fine. The main thing that we ask is that you do address the things on the syllabus, and then everything else is kind of extra to your discretion. And that is how we teach it here on campus too, and so we wanted to have it the same across the board. So I'm going to bring up a syllabus for CIT 100. This is my specific syllabus that I use for one of my classes, and I have all of my contact information up above. You can have your contact information. You're not going to have like many of the things that we have up there, like offices and stuff like that, meeting times. But the course description, this hands-on course introduces the student to more popular microcomputer software packages. So we're talking about Windows, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. That is what we go over in CIT 100. Some people choose to go into Access. We don't necessarily do that, but it's in the books if you want to go ahead and do it. And some people will choose to go over like different things like Google Docs, you had mentioned before, and those are completely fine. So the course topics: Windows 7, we have not integrated to Windows 8 or 10 yet. So we're sticking with 7, and so because of that, we actually do have a PDF that we use to teach the Windows 7 section of the book, because we have the Microsoft Office 2013 version of the book, and so we have the PDF version from the previous version of 2010, which has 7 in it. Do your books have 7 in it? Like, what do you guys do? Okay. Do you have 2010? 2007? 2007? Okay, well that's actually probably good. So, because then you still hit the Windows 7 mark there. And most of the stuff here, let me assure you, there's probably not a lot of huge changes across the board for 2013. Nothing groundbreaking at the very least. So as long as you're hitting those basics, we're good with that. Okay. So expected learning outcomes, the main one that we want to focus on is what our assessment is going to be based upon, and that is Windows 7. So the student will be sufficiently familiar with the Windows environment to be able to create, save, and organize meaningful data in an effective manner as evidenced by. And we're going to do A and B. And so basically they have to know how to work with the operating system. They have to know how to create folders, save files, move them around, organize them, copy, paste, what's the difference between all of those? All of those things are expected. And generally what we do, you can create your own assessments for this, whatever your assessment is. But one that we do here is we do have a kind of like a short nomenclature assessment where we ask them to define specific things on the desktop, like, what is a folder? What is Windows Explorer? What do you use that for? And what's the difference between, an open window and a closed window? Stuff like that. Very basic stuff, just so they know how to navigate Windows 7. Then we take them through an activity where we give them a bunch of files, maybe like 30 or 40. And we give them step-by-step instructions of create this folder, move all of the, what do they call them now, GIFs, GIFs, whichever, to the, to the picture folder. And then move all of the Excel documents to the documents folder. And so we give them step-by-step instructions. I do have an example of that right here. And if you want any copies of these assessments, I can certainly send them out. Let me see, exams, Windows 7. We encourage you can create your own exams if you want to. A lot of times the books will provide their own exams. Sometimes I'll take them and I'll edit them to what the standards are and everything else. But, I have all my data files here, and they're just basic files. And so then I have them look at the properties. I have them say, okay, which one's the largest file? Which one is the newest one that was created? And I put them through that. And right here is, I think these are the questions. And these are the basic questions that I ask them. So, what's the largest file? They have to fill all those out. And then I have them create a zip folder that they'll upload to me, because we have kind of like an online e-learning module thing that we use. So this is an example of a test that I use to test them on Windows 7 to see, oh, okay, this is, how to navigate an operating system. Any questions about this exam and how it's set up? If you want to do something similar, that's fine, as long as you are hitting the the assessment standards that we have up there, that's fine too. I will change this from year to year. I don't like using the same tests year after year. That's just something that is just one of my preferences. I like to update it. I like to keep it kind of, I don't know, I won't say fresh, but I don't like it whenever there are like tests circulating that are older, but I use the same concept they're the same each year. Okay. So the first one is given a diagram of an application screen in the Windows environment. The student will be able to identify major elements by name and give the function of each in their own words at a success rate of 70%. So we want a success rate of 70% or above. Whenever you give examples of these assessments, mine are online, and so I just download a version of that, or I take like a screen cap of their test, and then I turn that in for my assessment. And then I write a little thing there saying, okay, this person got 100%. They did very well in my class because, they completed the homework assignment and I felt like they participated in class. You have to give an explanation for the students who didn't do so well. So I had 3 students who got a 70% or lower. And the reason is because they didn't complete their homework, and I feel that they were lost about a lot of the definitions and didn't really didn't show up for classes, whatever the reasons are. There are no right or wrong answers for this. It is what it is. And don't feel like you're going to be judged based upon your teaching if somebody gets lower than a 70%. It's just basically for, accreditation, and look at the test itself and to say, okay, is this test working? Is there something we need to change? Stuff like that. So those are the reasons why we do that. We have to do that as well. Everybody who teaches CIT 100 and any of the other technology courses, we all have to do assessments for everything. As a matter of fact, I have to do assessments for every class that I teach here. And each standard is different every year that we look at. So this year just happens to be the Windows one. Last year I think we did Word. So we had to give our Word exam in. And the next one is given a random collection of data files, the student will be able to organize the files into newly created folders. This is basically what I just showed you, that exam. The other exam, let me show you an example of that. It's the nomenclature exam. And what's funny is we actually give them this as a homework assignment. Like the homework assignment is very, very similar to this. And so I tell them, hey, your homework is going to be your study sheet for the test. But it's just set up differently. And it may have like different pictures and stuff like that. So here are all the questions. And there's some true or false questions there, end of the exam, and then they have pictures that goes along with it. Mine is based online, and so I have the pictures there. They click on it and look at it and then fill theirs out online. And then I'll have them define specific terms and stuff like that. let me go ahead and that's the old one. Here we go. Here's an example of what the assignment would look like, and there's the picture, and they would have to identify things in that picture then. So it's very basic. You can take your own screenshot and with the different things that you feel that they would need to know if you wanted to add different things to it. Like say you wanted them to identify different parts of like a browser, identify different parts of any other technology. You can integrate that into the exam as well, as long as you touch upon these basics. So right here is just a basic, window. I think that's Word, whatever it is. Yeah, it's WordPad actually. And then here's a dialog box that they have to identify as well. Very simple stuff. And then I let the students create their own answers for that, as long as it's correct. They can say it in their own words. I don't I want to say I'm not really big on memorization. They have to memorize it. Like there's no way around it. But sometimes I like them to put it in their own words, as long as it's correct. I'm good with that too. So that's just an example of an assessment for the other section of Windows 7. There must be both parts there on the exam for that. You guys are probably all done with Windows 7 at this point. So if at any point you want to kind of roll back on this, touch upon it, you still probably have time to integrate a couple of these things if you haven't, if you didn't go over it. But if you did, that's fine too, and then you can go ahead and give an example of your own assessment then. Now, the book that we use is Exploring Microsoft Office 2013. We're using Volume 1. We haven't rolled over to Volume 2 yet. You probably have the 2007 version. You can use whatever book that you wish. You don't have to use our book, obviously, because we have 2013. As long as it has the same criteria in it, we're good with whatever you create, whatever homework assignments you give them. I can give you an example of my schedule. This is just based upon a 15-week schedule. And, I do have a section here, and this is my own created section where I have kind of a week of filler. And my filler is I do internet search and email attachments. And so I teach my students how to attach emails to, or attach documents to different emails. And then we go through the whole concept of searching through databases, using the Boolean search terms, and we also identify credible websites for research, because you would be shocked at how many of them want to come in using Wikipedia. And we have to teach them not to use Wikipedia and other things. And so we give them a sheet saying, oh, okay, this is how you do that. If you want those materials, once again, I can share them with you as well. But you can create your own kind of, and I don't want to say filler because that kind of sounds like it's not useful, but you can create your own criteria to fill up those weeks that you may have extra, that you may have kind of as overflow, and fill in with things that you deem as important in the technology world, which we will discuss later. But that is an example of my basic schedule. Homework due every week, quizzes, nothing really out of the ordinary. The other main thing that we want to be done is that the PowerPoint presentations must be done as well. That's another thing, and I do have rubrics for that as well, or you can make your own rubrics based upon what presentations you want. There's no requirements other than the fact that they have to create a presentation and they have to get up in front of the classroom to do their presentation. And we usually have about 10 slides of a requirement. They can pick their own topic, and then I will usually give them, oh, you have to embed a video, you have to put in some smart art, you have to do whatever, whatever it is the criteria is. And I usually have them do like 3 extras, and sometimes they'll pick like favorite bands or animals or whatever it is that they're picking, and that's fine. It just has to be PG-13. That's our only requirement there. But the in-class presentation, that actually that's 5% of the grade there. General lab assignments are 25%, and the exams are 70%. That is how we break down how we do, the assessments and how they get their grades in the course. Have all of you seen like an example of this syllabus? You all have like an example of it? If you do not have the current one, please let me know and I will get you the most current one, because sometimes they do update them and then you can kind of fill in with your own.
Are your exams more written or production?
Both.
Okay. That's what
Yeah. Before, in the past, we were given exams and they said, oh, you have to use these exams. And then they said, oh, well, as long as you fit by these standards, you can write your own exams for them. So most of them come with the book. Sometimes I like the ones that come with the book, and sometimes I do not like the ones that come with the book. The main thing we do with the assessments here is, even though the first one with Windows 7, we did have like a nomenclature one where they have to define stuff, we generally do not do that for the rest of the exams. We do kind of like a practicum exam where they have to do something. So we give them, it's much like the homework assignments where we say, here's this Word document, do this, 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 and this to it, okay, now turn it in. And that is their exam. In Word, that's what we do. And I think that's the best form of exam for a lot of these technology courses, because you want them to be able to do something, to be able to define something. Gosh, with the way Word moves things around anyways, if you ask me to find something, sometimes I have to search. With how they move things around, it's like, well, okay, I know we can do this. Let me see where I can find it in the 3 different places that they have it. I know the shortcut key for it. Don't always know where it's located from 2007 to 2013. But the main focus of is, can they do this if we tell them to do it? Yes?
For the Windows 7 assessment, I had them actually write out an email, and they had to include an attachment of the image that I had in their S folder that they had to pull over. I mean, whenever I submit the assessment, I'm going to submit my assessment that I did, and then am I going to submit one of the students' assessments?
3 of them.
3 of them.
Yes, and sometimes I find that I don't have people who get under 70%. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I have,
So that the email that I did, just attach that email that they did, like take a screenshot of it.
Yeah, I think sometimes they'll let you download emails. I don't know if that always works. You can take a screenshot of it and then have like explanations of it.
Okay.
And that would be, yeah, because my online test, I have to give examples of that, and it's online. So I have to say, oh, okay, well, here's a screenshot of my, 100% or 90% student, and here's a screenshot of my other student, and then I have the comments there for them. Okay. So that's perfectly fine. Just as long as you're showing, hey, this is what I did, and here's the criteria that I was trying to meet with this. So just some sort of explanation. And there's room to explain that actually on the form that you will be filling out. Or what I've done also too is I've put it in a Word document. Like if I took a screenshot and then I put a comment there, okay, like just pointing to whatever, and that works as well. Any other questions about the assessments? Good to go. All right. Let me see here. So those are the main things that we wanted to focus on based upon the assessments. Of course, with Word, there are different criteria there, and with Excel as well. A lot of times in these classes, I do a lot of group work. I do a lot of collaboration projects, and I will assign different things just depending upon the class itself. You guys should, you know how to do, this type of stuff whenever you're in a technology course, and you can kind of assess where your students are struggling at and where to put in extra work as needed. Okay. Let me go back to the agenda here. So any other questions about the assessments and what is to be expected of it? I don't think that I skipped anything. Yeah. Make sure whenever you turn in the assessment that you also put in this copy of what you're going to be assessing into the data sheet. The criteria that you're going to be reaching. So just make sure that's in there as well. And once again, with the other classes, you're probably already given that. So If you are teaching other courses other than CIT 100, you'll be given the assessments. It's the same concept, however, where you'll be providing 3 copies of a student's work. You can also include projects if you want to. If you didn't do an exam, or if you did like a combination of projects in lieu of an exam, those are completely acceptable as well. Because there's been a lot of times with these assessments where, say for like my communication courses, where I had them write like a paper, or I had them go out and evaluate a movie, and I turned that in for my assessment, as long as it's assessing it in some way or another. It doesn't have to be like a flat out test. We're going to be moving on to research and development in the field, in our technology field. You know that it's ever changing, and there are a ton of different things that we're going over. What I would like you to think about are specific things that your school is doing, and maybe share that with the rest of the classroom. I know that a lot of times what we focus on here is screen capture technology. I do that a lot with my online classes. I do that a lot with my students who are even, face-to-face. And I'll create like mini modules for them so they can watch them at home. So a lot of times what I will do is I will take an example and teach them, and they'll follow along with me, and I'll have little mini modules that we'll complete. And then I'll do the same thing, and I'll capture it on the screen, and that way they can view it at home if they're doing their homework at home or anything else. Sometimes their parents can't help them, or they may not have, like, maybe they forgot, my voice leaves them as soon as they leave the room, and they think, oh, I don't know how to do that Excel formula. A lot of the screen capture technology that I use Camtasia. It's kind of like a pricey package. Even if you get like the teacher's discount, it's kind of expensive. We have it here on campus. You may not be close to come here and use it on campus, but you are welcome to come here and use it. There is a sister version of it. It's called Jing, and it only allows you to create like 5-minute presentations. A lot of times that's kind of their attention span anyways, and so I found that even the 5-minute ones are just as good. And I'll have my little document up. I'll do something really quick for them, and then I'll post it and say, hey, this is just a review on how to do tabs, or this is a review on how to do that financial calculator formula that we did earlier. That's what I've been working with. Also, a lot of people have been using different tools and how to collaborate with their students. I know we were talking about earlier about Google Docs. Did you want to kind of explain how you guys use like the Google at your?
Yeah, I do. Well, I teach a whole section on Google Docs, and then for their project they have to collaborate together. And I put them in groups of 3, and they're all in different parts of the room. They're not allowed to talk. They have to email each other and say, hey, I'm going to be the person to share this with the rest of you. And then they have to comment and collaborate and come up with a whole project. So.
And that's a good way to teach them, like whenever they get into the higher education, or wherever they kind of get into the real world, so to speak, and they have to collaborate with people who aren't in their office or who aren't anywhere near them. And so that's a great way to use technology and kind of put that as an extra. Anyone else have anything?
We're not doing it now, but like you were saying with the screen capture, we're actually doing something where we actually have to get all our lessons. We're actually going to do through the whiteboard, and then actually record ourselves too, and then put them on the wiki pages so that kids who aren't there can catch up, or kind of do it as like a hybrid type class. I know the other teachers have already done it, so then we're going to start rolling it out next semester. I
have heard also that they are thinking about like schools that get a lot of snow days, that they're going to start using that. Like if they have a school day, then they'll use that in lieu, so they don't have to miss so many days, which I think is really neat, and I think that's a great idea to be able to use that technology. So that's really cool that you guys are using it now. It'd be interesting to see how it works with your students and how they like it. Did you get any feedback from your students yet? From
some, like the other teacher, she's already done it. Yeah, some of the kids, they they'd rather do that sometimes.
Yeah.
They could sit and stop and go back and go, if they miss something or if they have to go to the bathroom, they get up and go, and you can just do almost at your own pace.
Yeah, I had something like that similar in one of my stats classes that I took, and it was a lifesaver sometimes, especially whenever you're going over something complicated. You're right, because you could just pause it and then follow along and then think, okay, I got to rewind. You can't always do that in the classroom, and sometimes teachers can't afford to keep on going over something in the classroom. So, very good. I know you aren't a 100 person, but is there anything that you use in the classroom that may help other people out in our little world here that you're kind of using?
We do a whole different kind of thing than a regular classroom. I mean, we're fixing iPhones now, so they're making it can make a YouTube video, and they have their own blog, they have their own website that they can put up steps
Okay.
to replace the screen on an iPhone.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's where it's nothing like this. It's not a traditional classroom environment in my class.
Sometimes those
I've done
are
that before.
the neatest type of. Sometimes those are the neatest type of classrooms to be in, though, because YouTube is another great example too to put up videos, because it could be like with us, we have screen capture because we're working with software, but you're working with hardware, and so you could use a video. You could take a video with a phone.
They get phones, and they have their own. They're all making their own PC maintenance website on Google sites. They can record some things in Audacity. We fix people's computers that get brought in. They're going around the school with people, and they're setting up. Today they're doing a presentation for teachers on internet scams, because some people are spending a lot of money to people that aren't from this country, and they're giving them $300-$400 for software, and their computers get destroyed. So they're making presentations that they have to present to teachers sometime in an Act 80 day to realize that when somebody calls your house and you give them access to your computer, it's not a good idea.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like VPN. Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
it's
Ugh.
bad.
That could be issues, and that's
Yeah.
neat that
There's
they're.
a maintenance guy to spend $1,000 for 3 years protection. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's just crazy to even think of. But that's really cool classroom experience for them, because they're actually teaching the teachers at that point, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then that has to be neat for them.
Yeah. Oh, they love it. Some of them do.
Well, yeah. And those are all great examples in how there could be a difference between the classrooms, and we're all using things that's going to be useful to them in the future. This is the main point of these technology courses, because every student who walks through this building has to take CIT 100, whatever they're going for. It's a requirement. They have to know how to use computers, and they have to know how to use software and to make it through, whether they're going through for an associate's, whether they're getting a certificate, whether they're going on for a 4-year degree. It's important. And for your example, that's going to be their career. They're going to be learning that skill. That's going to be something that they're going to use even beyond. And so it's very important that we teach them things that is useful to them. And that's something that I try to do. I try to make projects that's relevant to them, that they're going to use later. And so, for example, this week we're going through Word, and we're going through the whole citation, how to make a research paper, but we're doing it on something that they find interesting, like they're just looking up topics that they want to look up, and we're doing a whole kind of annotated bibliography. There's only so many ways to make technology courses exciting. Sometimes you got to go through the doldrums, so to speak, and you have to go over stuff, and it's not always going to be flash and exciting, but with these projects within the class, it does make it very relevant, and it makes it very beneficial for them. If you have any questions about your assessment, about anything through this process, about your class, books, materials, anything, Feel free to contact me. Feel free to contact the ACE office. There are materials there that we have in the office if you want to compare books, if you want to look at new options, if you want to say, hey, you know, I'd like to look at new materials for this class, or I'd like to see what other people are doing. We're more than happy to share that. I'm more than happy to share anything that I have as well. You know, I can kind of send that via zip file, or we can upload it in the portal there so all of you can use it. It's something that we should share with each other, and we should use them across the board. And my email is actually on my syllabus. There we go. It's, let me zoom in here. It's jbarron@pennhighlands.edu. Feel free to contact me for anything. I've been teaching here specifically for probably around I think I'm going on my 3rd year. And then I was teaching out in Harrisburg for a good 7 years out there. All software courses, you know, you name it, I've taught it. And I've even taught Outlook, an Outlook class, 60-hour Outlook class, which is great. Yeah, that face, yeah, that's about how it was. But yeah, I have a lot of materials. I have a lot of different books that I've even used too, and a lot of them I wish I would have brought my 2007 ones because I didn't know like what version you guys were on. But I actually have a book that I really like from 2007 because it had individual lessons that I used a lot, and I base upon a lot of my lessons now and those ones that I had. Not that I don't like our current book, but our current book is kind of set up a little bit differently that I don't always like. So a lot of them are concurrent with each other, so you can't just like separate. Like you have to do all of them in order to get to the one part, and that always irritates me. So, but at any rate, if you have any other questions, let me know because I've taught this class in previous versions, and I still have those materials hanging out there. There really isn't anything else that I think I missed. Let me look at the agenda real quick. Any other questions? Any other discussion? Anything? You know. We kind of started a little bit early too, so that's good. I keep on looking at the clock, thinking, okay, where are we time-wise? Let me go ahead and turn the camera off, and then we will do the assessments in the pack. And if you have any other questions out there, once again, my email is jbarron@pennhighlands.edu. It's 2 R's, Barron. And thank you very much.